Hey everyone, welcome to our November community meeting, where we will be talking about many updates in the progress of the server, as well as some not partnerships, but mergers that we've had recently, and acquisitions. So, to begin with, of course, as usual, we will talk about, what most people are here for, the Western server. Um, the update, so we will be combining the monthly updates for October and November into one video, which will actually include Western and SCP this time due to popular opinion on that matter. And they will basically be, about everything, you know, showing most of the stuff that I'll be talking about today, but more of a visual and a little more detail. In general, we've been pretty much spent the last month, of course, finishing the RPG building and stuff like that. And this month, we have spent a lot of time building certain historical structures that you'll see in the update video, such as one that we've been kind of vocal about has been San Quinn, which will be in California. Um, yeah, there's a lot of work being done in that department. Also, our quest team is being trained currently by a partner of ours, and we will soon have mythic mobs available for with which will be like buffalo and stuff. Better than the ones we have currently, because the ones we have currently were done by someone who was kind of getting trained in it, and now we're going to have a professional be setting those up. So that should get a little better. Um, yeah, so with historical, I mean, I've been working on the terrain, of course, and I'm hoping to have an update for the terrain sooner than later. I've posted photos here and there, especially Monument Valley was in that. Um, and we're working on trees for it, all custom trees and foliage. Um, and yeah, our new partners and mergers and acquisitions will also be providing certain systems for that Western roleplay, which will help us really meet our deadline. Um, yeah, specifically one thing that we're going to be trying to do. Hopefully, we're hoping for the January, like mid-January deadline for Western. We will have the wagons plug and done, which will be like you'll be able to actually drive around wagons with horses. Um, but yeah, also I guess we could talk a little bit about the pack. I wish Tommy was in here. I should message him. But the pack team has been very busy. I actually just up, so the pack is working, by the way, now. So no more problems with that. I know we were having issues where people were getting 100% and then not being able to download it. That's all fixed now, and the pack is updated, so we will be having more guns soon, such as the Eline Cutlass and different carbines and rifles. Um, but yeah, so okay, but yeah, so yeah, the pack, and the pack has also been updated to have other things for the SCP project as well. So actually, I wonder. I don't know if it's this. I think it is this version of the pack. We now have the walkie-talkie model in. One thing that Green, who is here, one of our main devs for, especially for the SCP project, helped develop our custom chat system. We no longer use hero chats; we use scripted chats that he has made. And secondly, he also created the walkie-talkie system. So basically, if you're like security or staff of some kind in the SCP roleplay, you'll be given a radio when you begin, and you'll be able to contact on 5 different types of secure channels. And if someone like kills you and takes your radio, they can use it as well. And it works across the whole world, so you don't have to just communicate by roleplay chat. You can communicate by the radios. Um, let's see. So yeah, with just wrapping up Western. Yeah, the website's well under development right now. I'm hoping we can release that as soon as possible. UK has been very busy with it, and when that site's done, we'll have probably donation ranks for those who are interested in that kind of thing, and helping support the project because as many of you know, it's currently pocket paid, and yeah, we could use some support with that. And every donation goes directly back into the server, and whether it's increasing the hosting capacity or you know even paying for people to come in and do tasks that our team can't, which isn't many tasks, but it's always nice to have a helping hand. Let's see. Yeah, and then the Western server. That means also when the Western server website opens, you'll be able to start applying if you want to for those kinds of really significant positions within the roleplay, such as governors, town mayors, things like that. Very big business owners. Most businesses you'll be able to operate without doing an application, just doing the in-game character card, but yeah, there'll be some big, like if JP Morgan, if you're gonna be filthy, if I'm gonna give you tons of money, yeah, that's gonna be a thing. Yeah, also, yeah, so that means also we'll probably be filling up so territories and states will start being led, which means that you know, that means we'll probably be giving individuals power in the 13 channels we have, and then hopefully you guys will start migrating over to those channels to kind of start planning out what you're going to be doing on the Western map. Yeah, and of course, as many of you know, we've modeled tons of animals. We'll be modeling more animals. Hopefully, with this new plugin we'll be acquiring, we'll be able to model raccoons. We'll be able to have beavers, maybe even snakes. Actually, that has become a possibility due to this. And yeah, so lots of work being done in that department. Yeah, resource pack is just our top-notch department, as many of you know. Yeah, I've also recently some things we're going to be looking to make in the near future. I've updated the list for people of things they need to make. There'll be a ton of hats coming out soon, so we'll have sombreros, tri-corner hats, skunk hat, beaver hat, coonskin hat, buffalo headwear, bowler hats, straw hats, top hats. If you have any recommendations for hats, please send them my way. We have a great modeling team that's really willing to do like anything that needs to be for the immersion and your fun experience on his Haven in general. Actually, we'll also be having hopefully grenades sooner than later. We also have some firearms that will be in the works. We have a Civil War era rocket launcher that we'll be working on very soon, as well as some new carbines, muskets, all that, and a second repeating rifle. Though the first one as noted, the first one has not been added to the game, though we have plans to add it to the game. There'll be a huge crack shot update really soon. We're just wrapping stuff up, and you'll basically be able to, it will not be arrows anymore that you shoot. It'll be particles. You'll be able to break glass, and it'll have better noises and things like that. So I know some of the guns don't even have noises, which is a bit of a problem. But yeah, and we'll be actually having rifles in the gameplay. We finally found the problem as to why when you use a rifle, it becomes it uses the spawn egg mechanics. So that's being fixed, and that will be implemented very soon. Um, yeah, and then we're talking. We may, just a little update. We may be dissolving our current RPG map if a particular merger goes through. In which case we will be giving assets to another server, and they will be hosting the RPG for us and mixing the projects. Currently, there's a deal in the works to have Brawl staff, um, G-Man server, and our RPG server combined into one project. So, yeah, and that will be long-term RPG, Western stuff. But yeah, so on after on that note, just I guess I should mention Plot World will be opening again soon. Um, I know many of you know, we've closed that due to some problems. Um, but yeah, like where the problems were after a glitch with multiverse, it just unclaimed every plot, which actually was a good thing because those plots were too small anyway, and we really didn't like that plot world. So, and the plots world spawn needed redoing and everything. So this just gave us a chance to move everything over to a new plot world. The plots are now 100 by 100, and of course, if you build something in there and it's approved, it will be imported into the roleplay world for your use. Um, Also, future SCP maps, if they take place in something like a real world setting above ground, and you want houses and stuff, if you build them in there, that can also be arranged. Foreshadowing for future projects. But yeah, um, but onward to SCP. So SCP is just great, amazing progress. We've talked about a little bit of that with the radios. But yeah, SCP just has it's basically done. I mean, it is a almost completely finished game mode, other than a few like minor sections needing to be built, and the implementation of 1 to 2 SCPs, which we could definitely do by the time we'll listen to your everyone's vote, and we'll be having the launch of SCP on the 19th of December. So yeah, that'll be happening. And make sure you have your applications in for that, because if you do not have your whitelist application in at least a week before, then very few exceptions will be made. You might not be allowed to actually join the roleplay, and as we get closer, seats might fill up for SCP roleplay as well. So if you really want to play SCP roleplay, make an application, because it is whitelisted, and yeah, that is necessary. Um, let's see. So SCP also, as I said in chat a few times, we've been expanding on our actually making working SCPs, not just the ones that worked on Site 47, but we've also been improving on SCPs. Particularly, my favorite has been SCP-1499, the gas mask that takes you to another dimension. We've actually made it so if you put it on, it actually teleports you to that other dimension, and if you take it off, it teleports you back. So yeah, that's a thing now, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works with gameplay and all the different SCPs, especially the safe ones, like how people will use them. Of course, key cards are already set up. I've been organizing the kits for each person's particular rank of sorts, and you'll get all that stuff as soon as the roleplay joins. I've been slowly changing names out in the offices and stuff for people's characters. So that's happening. A lot of behind the scenes stuff going on, and a bunch of that will be covered in our update video that will be coming out hopefully this week, for November and October progress. SCP, yeah. We also have two new staff members in SCP. Uh, so Core Part and Waifug are now the current the well, I don't think you meant to unlock your ticket, but yeah, I mean lock your ticket. No, Waifu. He's a helper. Yeah, those two guys are helpers. They're here basically to work with the community, enforce the rules, things like that, and helper is basically on the path to moderators. So yeah, they'll be here for a while as long as they do their part. um, but yeah, and then anything else with SCP? I mean, well, we have the 3D guns done. We have the retexture of SCP-999, and yeah, I'm not sure where Tommy is. He said he might come in. But yeah. So, but yeah, Tommy, of course, is like the lead on our resource pack team, and he has been doing a lot of work. Especially, he did some stuff for SCP as well. So we have the walkie-talkies that will be discussed more in the video, visuals and stuff. I think everyone's gonna really like those. We're gonna have brooms, so for the janitor profession, and yeah, there's just a lot of things. Brooms, not bros. But yeah. So all that's being worked on. Also, some updates, I guess, with plugins. So we have the Telegram plugin in the works. So that'll be also helpful in future SCP maps because we'll probably use it for phone systems, where it'll basically have a receiver and it'll have a transmitter, and it will be able to detect the wires between the locations and send the signal through. And you can actually, in the role play for Western, you'll be able to break those wires and actually disable telegram systems, especially outlaws and natives who are fighting the normal state goers. And I'll move you back. Okay. Yeah, you moved yourself back. Good. Yeah, and basically, so telegrams will be pretty cool. We're also making a map API, a custom map API, so you'll be able to actually type on maps and take notes and stuff, and that'll be something in the SCP as well. Other technical stuff we're working on. Injuries plugin is almost done, so if you get a roleplay based injury, like a permanent injury, like if you're torturing a D class guy and you're gouging out their eyeballs in torturing them, yeah, they're going to have permanent blindness as long as they have that character. Yeah, so yeah, I love dark, but it is. Look, SCP is literally supposed to be the darkest roleplay possible. I mean, oh, well, it is because I've had that done to me on other servers. Like, literally, my first major roleplay server I played was they cut off all my limbs, gouged my eyeballs, uh, trimmed me down under, and stabbed me in the gut and left me to die in a dungeon. Yeah, yeah, of course. As a roleplay server, there always has to be a reason for violence, unless they're D-class, of course. Then you just beat the shit out of them if you're security. But but only if they break the rules, of course. Yeah, yeah, SCP. Yeah, gotta love being this shit out of the defenseless prisoners. I mean, if they're D-class, they have a reason why they're D-class. So I don't feel bad for being the shit out of murderers and rapists. So yeah. um, yeah. Also, some things to note about SCP. I'm not sure how many people actually read through the full rules, but there's a whole section on how RP combat will work, how PvP combat will work. You might want to look through that because we'll probably be starting questions soon if you have any questions on those things. Um, there's also, just something about the rules. I'll probably be updating rules very soon for SCP roleplay, so there'll be stuff about how raids will work. Not raids, riots. Sorry. Yeah, how riots will work. Basically, there'll be procedures on how you start, so there can't just be a riot any second of the day. You actually have to do something to prepare for it. So, it's not like all the time you're rioting and uncontrollable. uh, and yeah, we will have breaches. I think that doesn't need much much foreshadowing. There will definitely be. I mean, literally, I just had a breach touring. We were touring. I was showing someone around the SCP-017, and it literally got out and started murdering us all. Not good. Yeah, just not good at all. Literally the worst case scenario. Keter getting out into the base. Yeah, yeah, definitely fun and engaging, and and also very dangerous because, as the big thing, and this is why it's also gore and everything is a big part. If you die, of course, you're out. And that'll be fun. Uh, you talk about the rules pages. Oh God. Yeah, see, this is why you don't have the security clearance to go to 049. Um, yeah, there'll be a possibility. Basically, as I kind of mentioned in SCP channel, we are planning to do a what do you call it, a beta for SCP, alpha or beta. I'm not sure what Green wants to call it, but yeah, just to test the different mechanics, test the kits, you know, see what's gonna function and what's not. Because after certain things happen, yeah, with last server we released, we definitely want to make sure everything works before we're done. Um, but yeah, let's see. Um, Anything else I want to say before we go directly to questions? Oh, and this, I think this is getting pretty much settled soon. So there's some things with the hub as a whole. Basically, we'll be having a hub Discord soon, so we won't have to use this Discord for the hub. There'll actually be a Discord for like the actual hub where we'll be having our community meetings from now on. Um, the hub will basically have all of our servers, the ones we make and the ones that we're partnered with, or not partnered with, but you know what I'm saying, like the ones that we currently are having merged into us. So Yeah, that's fine if someone kills NPCs, by the way. It's part of the gameplay. But yeah, on an RPG, of course, not other things. Um, let's see. But yeah, so the hub thing, and that also should indicate we're probably going to have more servers. Um, Particularly, we're going to be having there's this new acquisition happening, this merger of sorts, where we'll have a fantasy branch, basically, which will have a large RPG element, and I'm hoping we'll be able to implement townships, which will be a very unique experience for people who do like townie and factions. Like, this is a plugin that most servers don't use anymore, and it has a lot of interesting elements. um, but yeah, okay. And then, I mean, with that, yeah, some acquisitions we've had recently. So we, and these are things that we're not going to release right away. Of course, we'll probably work on them, or maybe some of them, they might just dissolve into us, and we just may break up the assets for some of our other projects. Most of these are kind of like dead projects anyway. So there's a cyberpunk server we've recently acquired. Basically, the owner is kind of getting inactive, so we're getting that, and a lot of those people will probably be playing SCP actually. There's also Fallout servers that we're looking to acquire, and most of those people and things are going to probably be merged into SCP. And some fantasy stuff's going to merge either into fantasy or here. But yeah, enough of me just going on rambling. Let's get to the questions. Okay, so you know how this works. If you've been here before, if you're not, I'm going to explain it. Basically, just throw your questions into the community events chat. I've seen a few people throw questions in there already, and I will scroll through and answer all of your questions. Or if a staff member that's present wants to answer it, they may do so. So starting with, so let's start with, of course, these questions have to be like serious, yeah. So Gobo, you asked, because of the expendability and abundance of D class, will they have the ability to respawn as new characters? I would say this is not the case. So basically, how it will work is the so everyone is going. This is a map particularly that we really, we emphasize it's going to be a short-lived map, like 2 to 3 months. We plan to really have this up, and then we go to a different map. We have things already planned. And and it's purposely finite. So basically, if your character dies, you're out of the running. um yeah, and so there will not be like any kind of respawning of the class of any class, because there'll be a lot of D class in the first place, so if any of them get killed or anything. Yeah, and also, to take down a D class, you technically don't need to use lethal force. We can you can If you kill someone, you're able to say whether it's a death kill or a knockout, basically. And if it's a knockout, of course, you capture them and you're able to tie them up and drag them back to their cell or whatever. Okay, so yeah, I hope that answers your question, Gobo. Next question. Can we suggest from Three Penny Llama? Can we suggest SCPs? Definitely. There's the suggestion chat in SCP Discord. And of course, whether they are actually implemented or not is another thing. You know, because it depends if we can do it, of course. I mean, most things we can do, but there are some, like, I know there, like, the SCP we're not supposed to talk about, which has images on its page. We probably couldn't implement that. I mean, it needs Morse code to describe it. Um, you know, there's like, yeah, if we can't implement it, we probably won't. I am looking for more creatures, though, by the way. So if y'all have creature suggestions, yeah, that's a thing that I'll be open to. We have a lot of safe SCPs, so I'd like to have it a little bit more dangerous. Hey, you can't talk about that. It's gonna come for you. It's gonna take our Discord. Yeah, it's literally gonna steal our Discord now. Great going. But okay. So let's see. Joking aside, next questions. So the fantasy server role. So can you do? The question was, can you do role play in the role play in the fantasy server? Um, that's not a good question for me. That's a good question for the person who'll be managing it. I mean, technically, we can, if people really want to, we can give them the assets to implement that. But yeah, that's something that we'll have to talk about in the near future. And also, I should mention, Fantasy probably won't be releasing till after Western Roleplay. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. White. Okay, so Gua open. Will whitelist be off? I mean, technically, whitelist is off for the server. Um, but basically, the particular SCP part of the server is going to be whitelisted. Where if you're not added to the like, if you don't do your application and you don't get approved, you're not going to be able to go into Site 47. So yeah, that's just, you know, just to be clear on that. And so Gobo asks, so if I have a rocket launcher and blast someone point blank, it can count as a knockout. Now, I would say that probably will not. There are some cases, you got me. There are some cases which there cannot be a knockout, and I would say that is definitely one. If it's a dangerous SCP that kills you, that's instant death. Yeah, anything that's explosive. It's actually, I would say, we would have to make a roll for if you get killed instantly by a grenade or not, probably. But yeah, that's something. But yeah, so if you shoot someone with a rocket launcher point blank range, if he survives, and we can do a roll and say, like, if because we have 20 sided dice, we can roll to see, like, if he gets, like, 18 or up, he could maybe survive a direct rocket blast, but he would probably get permanent injuries that would make him really fucking hate living. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like, yeah, and we have the ability to implement that too. Like, if you break your right arm, you will actually be unable to place things. You'll be unable to use guns. I didn't realize that you actually added that green. Interesting. I Yeah, we have to really figure out how the thermonuclear device is going to work. So okay, onward. To Gua, you asked, is there a list of SCPs? Currently, yes, but you have to be someone with level 3 clearance to have that, or higher, to have that list. So yeah, if you want that list, yeah, I'll send that list to you, Bilbo. Don't worry. But yeah, so that's need to know. You do not have a level 17 clearance. Um, And also for the character, yeah, you just follow the format. I honestly recommend when you make your character, just put most people put in a Google document, and then they basically have the um, the ability to really go beyond the word count and everything. And also, after your application is done, we lock it, and then you really don't have the ability to look at it again. So it's a good idea to have a copy for yourself. And also, if anyone wants a copy of their application, I'd be willing to, of course, send it if you've been approved. Um, yeah. Also, of course, you'll need a skin, and everyone should know. You need a skin to play the game. You have to be dressed in your uniform or whatever. So yeah, that's important to know. Um, yes. So Toby asks, how does he get a skin? So there's a few ways. I mean, you could make your own skin, of course, and we can give you a template for using it. Of course, depending on your role, we might have a template for you. We might not. I don't believe we have a template for some roles, but we do have for most. We have so we use mostly Star Phoenix's security guard skins as as the format. And basically, so yeah, I don't have a site director template. You just need a suit. But basically, in the formats and stuff, you would just have to swap out the heads probably and the arms depending on your race. Um, for ones that aren't made, you would have to completely start from scratch or request a template. We do have people who make skins, and we'll be expanding that team in the coming weeks to help people out. And you would just make a request, of course, to them, and then they would make your, skin. Um, but yeah, so that's something. Yeah, D class template is already in, actually. That's already finished. But yeah. Any other questions you could answer? So when I say skin, I mean your Minecraft skin. Like, yeah, yeah. Yeah, basically everyone is. So how you change your Minecraft skin? Yes, yeah, it's a hardcore roleplay server. So yes, you need to change your skin. Um, so how you change your skin is you have to actually go to Mojang, and there's a system where you just like log in, and you can just easily swap out your skin. It's pretty like 1, 2, 3 kind of. And if you really need any help, staff are here to help, especially Twig or myself. Um, yeah, yeah. I actually did not know that. That's pretty cool. Okay, that's neat. And of course, down the road with other role plays and stuff, we'll probably have some kind of plugins. Hey, no leaking that. That's probably going to be in the video. No. No leaking the generator. Leak like the backup generator. They can see the backup generator. But yeah, I know. Go show them that. But yeah, of course, in the future we'll probably have a plugin where you'll be able to actually swap out your skins in game, only for the server. But you should probably not get a skin from Name MC or Skindex. We have, if you go to the skins channel on the Discord where you can discuss skins, request skins from skin makers, and all of that. There is also a collection of skins that I have there that you can choose from and modify to your hopes, like heart's desire. Okay. Skin making chat in SCP. Steve Skin is not okay. um, fine. Okay. Uh, literally right here. Okay, so time to answer Darf's question. So, what will be the future RP projects? Um, well, that's a pretty open-ended question. So, like, do you mean SCP specifically, or different themes we're going to have? Because we're going to have different SCP. Okay, I'll talk about SCP projects first. So, um, basically, you'll be able to So with SCP role plays, of course, this one's going to be, it's a hardcore, very detailed role play, really made for the winter season, so everyone can, play it, get done, and it's supposed to be a short-lived quality role play, with the short-livedness being part of the quality. So we're expecting it to last 2 or 3 months, and then we're going to change to a different map. Second map. Hey, stop showing my builds. Hey. um, but basically, yeah, the so the second map of SCP will be the Infinite IKEA. So that will be like, it'll use Factions plugin, though it will be roleplay, and people will be able to make their own settlements in the IKEA. Yeah, and that will not be whitelisted, but it will have a character card system. Yeah, it will roleplay survival in IKEA, I would say, where you'll make your character when you enter, and then yeah. Um, And then also for other future projects, Cyberpunk may be something we add. We'll see. Depends what we do with it. We're still discussing that. I think there's a good chance at some point it'll be added. Um, there's there's also like future projects we'll have for roleplay, things we've discussed. Well, SCP Project 3 is on the down low, not talking about it kind of thing. But I will say this. Project 3 of SCP will be the best SCP project we ever do. I'll say that right now. So that'll probably be coming out in the summer. No, do not dare say anything about that. Do not dare say one thing about Project 3 that is not being discussed, but other than it is literally the best SCP project that will ever be created for Minecraft. And I say that with full confidence. And it'll be roleplay. Um, Now, other than that, for future roleplay projects, there will also be and by the way, everyone that's asking questions, I will be getting to those questions. Of just, this is a big question Darf asked. So of course, the historical servers will reset, um and basically, yeah, probably like within a year, like after a year of the Western roleplay will reset, and we've still not decided what we're going to do for the second historical map. It will either be the American Revolution or feudal Japan, or maybe we'll even go back to the Renaissance. Still not decided. Um, Definitely not the Gulag. But yeah, so there's other things with that. Soviet roleplay. No, no, I've done Soviet roleplay. You don't want it. I've done like, I've done like dystopian 1980s roleplay. You really don't want that. Trust me. Okay, but yeah. I mean, I don't really do ancient roleplay because I find it's like just too, like the societies aren't developed enough in most cases. Like if we did Roman or Greek, all the other societies would be very underdeveloped, and it would just be very boring. Yeah, I there's other though I should mention, there might be an acquisition at some point of Romecraft. We have talked with them about it, and yeah, they might lean towards doing it. Also, UK, you don't have to record because Core Part is recording. Yeah, I already did 1984 roleplay. I don't want to ever do it again. Just leave that. Okay. Other questions now. So yeah. So Gua said survival on IKEA. Yeah, survival roleplay. So Toby asks, can I kill at any time and kill whoever I want? Can I kill endlessly? I would say no. It's not like that. You have to have a reason to kill someone, and if you're going to kill someone, you have to do it proper. And it also depends on the situation. So if it's 4 to 5 or less people, if you want to do PvP combat, everyone has to agree to it. If not, then you have to do roleplay combat. And also, if it's more than that, then it will be PvP combat. So that's something to note. Yeah, so that's something. But yeah, so all of that's in the rules. Yeah, this whole description about that. Also, yeah, and also yeah, people just can't just kill you for fun unless of course you fit the D class description of breaking the rules. But yeah, so can people make their own RPs? When you say that, like, I mean, technically, people could do that on the plot world. Not gonna lie, like that's something that players do have as an option if they really wanted to. We can set that up if popular desire demands it. But we're probably not going to make a role play for every person's dream just because that's a logistics nightmare that I'm not going to deal with. Roleplay, dev, roleplay, preschool roleplay. I don't even joke about preschool roleplay because there are people who actually do that. Okay, so PvP on SCP. So depends on the situation, of course. And all of this is in the rules, of course. All ran out. Like there's like 4 to 5 pages of rules, most of them about PvP and RP combat. Yeah, so if it's a group of 4 to 5 or less, and everyone agrees to it, they can PvP. If not, it'll be RP combat default, which is rolling and stuff and actions. If it's more than that, like let's say there was a like riot, that can use normal PvP mechanics. Because that's very hard to set up. I would say Darth. So yeah, high school college roleplay is very cringy, but technically people could do that in creative server if they want. Like I don't care what people do in creative server. If they really want, they could do any kind of roleplay as long as it's not ERP because we're not having some sexual cringy shit. But like in the on the server, it's just not happening. Do not spam my chat. Minecraft. No. Yeah. So yeah, no, we're not doing any of that stuff. Yeah, that definitely never. I've read SCP stuff like that. We're never going to have that ever. It's bad, instantly banned. No, not allowed. Any other questions though about SCP or Western? Haven't had many questions about Western today, so yeah, I mean, we have had a lot of discussion on Western, but yeah, yeah, Eastern. So there has been some discussion. Well, Darth, I've gone over everything for improvements to Western. So if you want to see that stuff you missed, we'll be putting out a video afterwards. Show where you can listen in on that. There's a lot. So with Eastern roleplay, there is a chance. I mean, it's a very slim chance. I'll say that much. But there's a chance we will have a second server that partners with us that has a bungee cord where people will be able to travel to the east. And you know, especially when Civil War comes about and stuff, that might be a big thing. But yeah, it's yet to be determined. They have to really get their shit together if they really want to be part of the project, like part of this. They have a lot of problems that they're dealing with, and we are not doing Avengers Civil War ever. No, never, never. um, yeah. Any more questions? No, no, no Nazi roleplay. Just maybe if we ever made a World War II server, maybe. But the chances we're going to do that again, probably not after last time. No, you should not do that tour. You should schedule a beta, and then do that tour. And UK, we kind of went over we talked about Conquered MC, the fantasy server, possibly joining the network. Yeah. The most intensive PvP game mode is RPG, I would say. Like, yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on how you look at it. Like, like, no, role playing games have PvP and less role playing mechanics. They have more like the thing about RPG is the difference is RPG you can play in a single player. Role play you have to have people. But yeah, RPG world, which is open now and has guns that you can buy and stuff. Yeah, that's open like now, so you could do that if you really wanted to go kill people. And of course, we'll probably have a kit PvP game mode at some point where you'll be able to test out different heroes' skills and stuff, which will also be in the Western roleplay as well. Yeah, so that's going to be a thing. I mean, SCP does have a lot of PvP combat, don't get me wrong, but it has that roleplay element, and if you die, you die. Yeah, was there any other questions I missed? I don't even know what Iske is, but yeah. No, so we're not going to really do Skyblocks or any kind of generic game modes. I usually ban from the server, except for creative, because creative is necessary for the roleplay, because you need to be able to build the structures and stuff. But yeah, this is a network that kind of has its roots in roleplay and RPGs, and it's something we really want to have. Space RP is a possibility, actually. It's something that's discussed. But I'm not at liberty to discuss the space RP discussions, unfortunately. Let's just say they may be. The only thing I can say is they may be part of the SCP Project 4 down the line. But yeah. Oh, there's at least we're 4 ahead, and with SCP, and the thing is, they're not going to come out at the same time. How it'll work is like one will end and the other will begin, kind of thing. So, Yeah, when we talk about all these servers and stuff, some of this stuff might not even happen for a year or two. This is way down the line. But we start planning now because a lot of this needs things to start being worked on now. So we can get that out for you guys and have it be quality and everything. Never again. No more Antarctica. uh, Actually, that might be fun to do like a colony, like an expedition, 1920s expedition RP, but you'd only have like 10 people there for that role. maybe, maybe I might do that in like a private world, do Antarctica roleplay. Yeah, probably not Dragon Ball. I really kind of tend to stay away from any kind of anime. It attracts too many people who are really, really into anime, and then they get out of control with the anime shit. It's happened. Yeah, the weebs. Like some weebs are okay. I mean, I have nothing against the people, but when they come in flocks, there's usually a problem. Yeah, yeah. No furry RP. Never an SMP server. Never. That would be the generic kind of server that I was talking about. Like here's so basically let me clarify. So we will never have a prison only server, we will never have a survival only server, we will never have a factions only server, we'll never have a townie only server, and never a roleplay SMP. I don't even know what that would be like. But yeah, unless there's any serious, like really important questions, I think we'll be probably ending the meeting since it's about 4:01 and I haven't eaten at all today. So yeah. Um Thank you all for attending this community meeting. I hope this has been enlightening for some of you, or if not all. If you have any more questions, I'll be in General 1 and we can actually discuss it over chat, right, over voice call. Thank you all for attending, and I hope you have a good day. Corpart, please end the recording.